So welcome. Good evening. Welcome to Food Truck 101 from beginner co-owner of Double Trouble Philly Cheesesteaks. And I own that business with my twin sister Lori and her husband Keith. So welcome. Joining us tonight and every Monday night is author extraordinaire, I call him, the creator and founder of this food truck training group, Mr. Bill Moore. This group today has over 20,000 members and is growing every day. Bill has written not only this book, but other books such as Putting the Cart Before the Dog or Taking It to the Streets. Yes, Bill, we just thank Bill and Melissa because they spend countless hours maintaining the integrity and the professionalism of this group. Bill brings more than 44 years of experience and expertise to this industry, and he really is focused on the growth and the success of our businesses. I can honestly say, without Bill, I have no idea where I would be right now. So trust me, he definitely walks the walk and talk the talk. Please help me welcome to the platform no other than the man with the plan himself, Mr. Bill Moore.
Thank you so much. Make sure I'm not on mute. Yeah, you can hear me good. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here to talk to everybody tonight. But more importantly, I'm glad to see you're back because I certainly missed you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Bill. I'm glad to be back.
I am happy to have you back.
I'm
Melissa,
so glad to be back again. I think everybody. Thank you, Melissa.
Hi, baby. Welcome.
Yes. So we have this question. We're working on this chapter tonight. Is this a good event? And this is a question that you will ask yourself time and time again. So just let me give you an example I just asked myself this question the other day because we did our event. We were at our home location and found out that there were 7 food trucks. 7, which is the most I've ever seen at Rose Hill at one time. Clearly? In spite of the 7 trucks being there, no. Is that better?
Maybe you got to talk for us to know for sure.
Okay. So did you guys get my introduction to the chapter?
It broke up a lot. Go ahead and just kind of start over. Just share your story about the event you're at with all the different food trucks.
So Saturday, we were at our home location and there were 7 food trucks. And even in spite of the 7 food trucks, we were still able to collect about $2,000. Now, why do I say that as a big deal? Because you had some really great food choices. And so as food truck owners, there's inventory, there's a lot of out-of-pocket costs, and you always want to know, am I going to get my money back? Or am I just going to be sitting on this inventory? There are so many factors that will factor in whether an event is good for you or not. Now, because this was a home event for us, I didn't really have the option of thinking, is this a good event? The question was for me, oh my God, will this be worth it? Or will we make our money? Or what do we need to pull out to make this an eventful event? So those are some of the questions. Bill, as we go through this chapter, Bill has some great formulas for really knowing, is this a good event? We've done events for the city and the county, which may charge you $75. That's fine. City county events, they're well marketed. They're publicized. You got your employees of the county and their families. Normally it's never been bad. But what about those events that want $250 or $600 for you to bring your food truck and feed their people? You think, oh my God, they promised you 10,000 people. We're looking for 8,000 to 10,000 people. And you get wrapped up in those numbers and you don't know how much inventory to get. You don't know how many people will actually show up. You don't even know if it's a reputable or verifiable event. Is this their first event? Is this the 20th annual event? These are things that you need to be asking yourself as you go along, because if you do not, you will surely get stuck holding the bag. So Bill, let's talk a little bit about, is this a good event? And just kind of give us an overview, and then we can break down some of the specifics of this chapter.
Okay. Well, let me change the screen here. You just shared an event that you guys were at, which is really your particular setup. You're going to be there every week. But for somebody that's looking at an event where they're just rolling in with, you know, for a weekend or whatever, they need to understand that an event is going to be a concentration of people. It's not a daily setup where you're on the, you know, parked on the corner or in front of the Home Depot or something. There's a reason for people to be there. You know, the beer garden is a perfect example. The families are coming there. There's stuff for the kids to do. Sometimes they have music playing. When I was there that night on that video, they were having a cornhole tournament. So there was a whole bunch of people there. You know, so an event is something that brings people together, and they're going to be doing different things other than eating, but they have to eat, especially an event like at a beer garden, or if you go to the county fair. So we got to understand what an event is. A lot of people confuse an event with catering. They'll say, have an event this weekend. And then when I talk to them, no, what you have is a catering. The catering is a private event. You don't sell to the public in general. So what I'd like to do is get everyone to share either an event that they have been to or they want to go to. I know you talked about the beer garden. I'll share one of my favorite ones in my area. We have two different events that are long time events. One of them is called Billy Bowlegs Festival, and it's a celebration for our area when a pirate came in and actually took over the town for a couple of days. It's the story behind it anyway. And then we have the Mullet Festival. One is held in the end of June, one's held in October. And they both try to do similar things. They bring in, you know, concerts and music, and they have games and rides and animals to pet and all those kind of things. But they bring in a little bit different kind of crowd. The Billy Bowlegs it's a parade, and it's along the shoreline because there's, you know, ships and that kind of thing. So it's a different kind of people. The Mullet Festival is definitely family oriented, and there's all kind of people there. And they both do really well for me, and I love going to them. But what's interesting is the Billy Bowlegs Festival is held in a teeny tiny area, and the event coordinators will say they have 70,000 people. And there is no way in the world that little area will hold 70,000 people. The other event, the Mullet Festival event, has on average about 40,000 people, and they have acres upon acres of room. So it never feels like there's a whole bunch of people there, but there are a bunch of people there. So the point of that is you got to understand the area you're going to be in, and don't just take the event coordinator's word for it. Both of these particular events are, see, the Mullet Festival is 45 years, and the Billy Bowlegs is like 50 or 55 years. So they have a long-term attendance, but still the attendance is exaggerated. So if you guys want to share where you have been at or where you would like to go, I'd love to hear, especially the folks that live in other areas. Yeah, the Mullet Festival, I know. We're on the shoreline here, so we catch a lot of fish. Let's see, Nicole raised her hand. Let's see what Nicole has to say.
Hey.
Hey.
All right. I just did my very first event on Saturday. Well, first of all, I'm do desserts, and they're icebox cakes, so they're no bake cakes. And I was invited to the parking lot of a business. There's many businesses there, but the business that invited me was called Monkey Around, and it's an indoor inflatable park for kids.
Yeah.
So I was there with one other food truck. I did the desserts, and they did the main food, and then the store did the beverages. So that was my very first time. I think it went well. I just sold over $1,000 in desserts. I sold out of all of the cakes, and then I do cheesecake scoops and had a lot of those left. So obviously need to make more of the cakes for next time. But one of the events I want to do here in Montana is the Strawberry Festival. And so I want to make a couple of different strawberry themed desserts to sell for that. And another one that I want to talk to you guys about is our Downtown Billings Association posted about a recent like summer concert. I don't know if it's a series or just a one-time thing, but it's an outdoor event. It's near the skate park in the downtown area. And I saw that they had posted about that. And so I asked, hey, are you looking for food trucks? And they're like, yeah, of course. Tell us, what do you make? And share your information. So I did, and they kind of shot me down. And I get it that it's more of a drinking crowd. But I kind of wanted your guys' thoughts on that. I still advocated for myself as people want variety. And I don't want to miss out on some of those events, but I just kind of wanted your guys' feedback on it.
That's a good question. What type of, you said it's going to be a drinking. So is it like beer, or is it wine, or what?
It's beer.
It's beer.
I think, like, we have a lot of breweries downtown, so I'm imagining that they're setting up down there at the concert.
I would still make the argument that not everybody's going to be drinking, and certainly not everybody's going to be drinking a lot.
Yeah.
And I would imagine that some of your desserts probably would do quite well with different beers.
Yeah, I think the other argument I was going to make to them was in July, there's a thing called Brews and Barbecues that's at one of our main arenas. And it's basically just a whole bunch of craft breweries that you get to sample. And then they have a bunch of food trucks there. And so, I mean, there's food of all different kinds there. I don't see how this is any different necessarily, except that they're providing music and entertainment in that way.
I mean, it's not like you would be taking up somebody else's space, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, the more the merrier, because it gives an opportunity for people to try different food. I would just do what you've been doing, advocate for yourself and say, look, you know, just because you don't like beer and cake doesn't mean somebody else doesn't.
Right.
I mean, yeah, not your typical combination, but I think, some people might still want something sweet.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, I just can't see it being an event where let's drink beer and then eat peanuts and drink so we can drink more beer. They've got to have that balance there.
Okay. I just wasn't sure if I was like way out of my market. I know, like, families and women are more of my thing, but
Women drink beer?
Or there'll be women out there too. Listen to rock music or whatever kind of music it was.
Right.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I would just continue doing that for sure. Those events, there's no reason to exclude you at all.
Right.
Okay.
Anybody else have a good story to share or an event they want to go to? Thanks, Nicole.
So, Bill, while you're waiting for somebody else to chime in, let's talk about the difference a little bit between an event vendor, the thinking between an event vendor and an event promoter. Because I know you go through in the book and you talk about an event promoter may view your long lines as, oh God, we don't have enough food trucks for next year, continue to add, where an event vendor might thinking may be different. Can you talk a little bit about how an event promoter thinks so that we can so that for our newbies and our new people that's coming on that will be talking to these promoters will kind of have a good angle as to where they're coming from.
Right. Typically, whoever's in charge of the event is going to kind of exaggerate. They're going to exaggerate the attendance. And that's one of the things that a lot of food truck owners hate when they're told, hey, there's going to be 70,000 people here and there's only 10,000 people. And then when you split the number of people by the number of food trucks, then it starts to be a real issue of a food truck even being able to make a lot of money. So you've got that problem with the promoters. The other problem with promoters is, especially the good ones, when they see long lines, that tells them, just like you said, that, hey, we need more food trucks here. That'll help shorten the lines. Because you got to look at the business of the event, because they're there to make money too, just like you are. They aren't putting on these events for out of the kindness of their heart. They want to make money. So if they want to make money, that means that every vendor that's there, not just the food trucks, but the people running the games, the people that are running the rides, all of those folks got to make money too. But when an event coordinator sees a whole bunch of people in line at food trucks and the lines aren't moving, those people are not spending money anywhere else in the event. So all the games are not being played, all the pets aren't being petted, all the rides aren't being ridden, because they're tied up waiting on someone to serve them some food. So as an event promoter, you're going, that means I can have more food trucks next year. And when they bring on more food trucks, the ones that attended in the previous year start to whine about, they brought on too many food trucks, I can't make any money. And they don't realize that they created their own problem. Long lines is not a sign of success. Long lines is a sign of operational issues. Like the other night at when I was helping you there, the line never got really long, but it stayed steady. I would much rather have a steady line that never breaks than have one that's, 60 people deep, because when the line gets so long, people are going to jump the line and go other places. And as an owner, you don't notice it because the line's so long. It's just a matter if you got to handle the people. If you don't, those event coordinators are going to say, nope, we need more food trucks. And
I know, you're right. You're absolutely right. We did an event where there was a big promoter there, and he was watching all of the food trucks. We were at a Black Cowboy Rodeo, they called it. That's what they called it, Black Cowboy Rodeo. And anyway, it was several trucks. But one of the things that the man came to us and said was, he noticed that the chicken truck down the road was getting out orders. It was taking them 25 minutes to get an order out. And so I understood why they did that, because their thing was lost in money. A lot of food trucks, if we cook as we go, then we'll save some money. But when you're at events and festivals, you really have to change how you service. Yeah. Do you recommend event menus versus your standards? So I have a Philly cheesesteak made to order with French fries, but if I'm at an event, is it okay to do my sandwiches maybe instead of, we'll have fries, we'll have our sandwiches ready. See, because we can prepare sandwiches, we learned this, put them in a box that will keep them hot, serve them, and then if you want French fries, then you figure you're waiting 3 minutes. If we have a line, we keep the French fries going, and you're not waiting. It's just a matter of grabbing your sandwich out of the bag. So when you're doing events, sometimes you have to really change your menu, to make that more time saving. I can't do cheesesteaks made to order when we're at an event where they're expecting 1,000 people. That doesn't make sense.
Right.
So talk about that a little bit, about how easy is that, or do you recommend that even?
Absolutely. As far as an event menu goes, you want to have an easy to execute menu. And that's going to mean you have to take a hard look at what you currently sell and maybe not bring your full menu with you. I recommend having, a catering menu. I recommend having an event menu, and then I recommend the daily menu. You got to have those menus already set up so you know what you're going to be selling and what you're really, really good at. So you got to have that stuff already prepared. In your example, already having the Philly cheesesteaks done, and then just adding on the veggies as they ask for, or serving them on the side. I think you'd mentioned to me before. Mm-hmm. Perfect ideas, because that helps move the line.
Yes.
It helps keep. If your line moves, people will jump out of the slow lines into the lines that's moving, because they're there to eat something, because they want to get the kids back to riding the rides and playing the games and doing the things the kids want to do. So you just gotta got to have those different kind of menus.
Okay. Okay. So let me ask you another question. Let me give you a scenario.
Okay.
Because a lot of us will face this. So I've been invited to an event. This is their second annual event post-COVID. It's going to cost me $275 to. The event is expecting anywhere from 500 to 1,000 people. There are going to be 2 savory trucks, 2 dessert trucks. Is this a good event? How do I even break that down in my mind?
How many people's coming? Are they Thanksgiving?
They're expecting 500 to 1,000.
Let's say it's 1,000. Not all of them are going to eat, right?
Okay.
Because how long's the event?
It's an all-day event, like a Saturday event.
Okay. So if it's an all-day event, then people are going to eat at least once. But even if all 1,000 people come, if you split that amongst the 4 food trucks, yeah, it's 250 people a piece.
Now, 2 are savory, and there are 2 desserts. So
it's unlikely that somebody is going to eat at a savory truck and then turn right around and go eat at a dessert truck, because the length of the lines and the movement, they're not there to eat. They're there to do other things. So what they might do is pick from my standpoint, there's too many dessert trucks there. 1 dessert truck will probably be plenty, because I think the 2 of them are going to be fighting for that, probably 200 people that are going to eat dessert and then save their money for later and eat dinner somewhere else. The savory trucks, I think, will be fine. This particular year, I think I would take every event opportunity I could get, because people have cabin fever and they're wanting to get out and do things. And just the traffic that we saw driving to Houston and in Houston was crazy. Even my little town, we're on the main road going from Alabama down to the beaches, and our traffic's just ridiculous. It looks like spring break every single day, and that's not how spring breaks work in our area. We usually have 1 good week of, all the schools come for spring break, and the city's packed. And then the other weeks during the springtime, you can tell 1 or 2 schools are out. We've not seen that. Every single week since we've had good weather has been just ridiculous amounts of people. So I think that for a food truck, if you feel confident they're going to pull 1,000 people, I'd show up.
So as a new food trucker, so we have some new food truckers on here. Some have done a first event. Some are getting ready to do their first event. What is going to give them the confidence that this is going to be? Is it going to be based on the promoter's word? What strategies can they use as a newbie going out for their first event? Because out of pocket, before they even buy inventory, they have to pay $275 to even participate. Right. And how much, as a new owner, I'm asking you, how much am I going to prepare for? Am I going to prepare to get enough food for a quarter of that amount? Half of that amount? How do a newbie break that down in their mind? We've been all over we've seen the good, the bad, and the ugly of all of that. So as the new people are coming in, this is definitely questions. How do they know that this is a good event? Is it going to be based on the amount of money to participate? Is it going to be based on the number of people the promoter is expecting? Is it going to be based on how much food they feel like they could get out per hour? How do they begin to break that down?
Okay. Well, the first thing will be like the little pro tip that's right there. You will only be as busy as the marketing reach of the event. So if the promoter is telling you, hey, there's going to be 1,000 people here, in your mind, and you may even want to say it to them, prove it. How are you going to get 1,000 people there? If they're selling tickets, they've got a reasonable guess at how many people is going to show up, as long as the weather holds, because they're selling tickets. But if they're expecting people to show up and buy a ticket to get in, you might have a little bit of an issue. How are you marketing this event? Are you on billboards? Are you on social media? Can you prove to me that you're marketing? A I was working with somebody in Cincinnati that was going to be going to an event that was being held at their Central Park there. I can't remember the name of it, but it's a park in Cincinnati. And they were told there's going to be, 3,000 people come to this event. And I said, okay, let's look up the sponsors. Let's look up the people that say their name is on this event. And we looked at the car dealerships that were supposedly marketing or supporting this event by sponsoring it. And their social media had nothing on it about this event. So we went through all of the supposed sponsors, and not a one of them mentioned this event. Now, if you're sponsoring an event, whether you're Coca-Cola or Pepsi or a local dealership that sells, Hyundais, if you spend marketing money, you want to get a return on that investment. You want people to see your name. So it should be on your social media. Hey, don't forget, we're sponsoring this event downtown. Check us out. Go down there, show your support of the event. You're not just going to donate some money and then not want to get some type of return out of it. So when you're talking to those promoters, what's your marketing reach? Who are the sponsors? Usually Coca-Cola or Pepsi or some other drink will help sponsor those, or a local business, again, a car dealership, could be Home Depot, could be anybody is sponsoring it. How are they marketing it? Are we on the radio? Are we on billboards? Is it in newspaper ads? Are you selling tickets? All of those things help to support that. Yeah, it's going to be a well-attended event. Once you've got the attendance nailed down, that you feel comfortable that you're going to have that 1,000 people that you talked about, then you want to start thinking about how many of those people are realistically going to eat. Because if the event has money that's to be spent to get into it, and then money to be spent for, rides or whatever else they're doing, people all have limited budgets. Some people are guaranteed going to go eat, and they're going to eat whatever they want. Other people are going to eat before the event and go into it and not eat while they're at the event. I recommend, and this just comes from experience, you're going to have probably anywhere from 1/3 to 1/2 of the total attendees eat something. Okay. And it could be less than that, but usually it's around 33%, as high as 50% will eat something from somebody. So if we take that 1,000, we're going to cut it in half. That's 500 people are going to eat. You got 4 trucks. So it's 125 people. That's the fair share. Now, the savory folks are probably going to get more people eating because of what they're selling. So they might get 150, 175. And then the dessert trucks are going to be losing that amount. So once you pick a number that you feel like this is going to be my fair share, you have to look at, can I actually hold enough food to serve 175 people? Can I legitimately cook fast enough to serve 175 people? And you got to be honest with yourself, because the real limitation of profits that I have listed there is your serving capacity and your cooking capacity. When you're doing any event, whether it's, a single day event, 5 hours, or you're doing, a 2-week event, the limitation is always going to be what you can do with your speed of service and your cooking abilities and your storage abilities. So it takes a little bit of experience. And this is where I want people to reach out to folks that have done these events. Hey, I can help you to figure out what amount of food you need to be taking with you. Ask the questions. Somebody will answer. Typically, if I don't answer, that means somebody else has answered the right answer in the thread, like Garrick. He answers a ton of stuff. He knows exactly what he's talking about. And if he doesn't know, he'll tell you. So just ask the questions. That's what the group's there for. Yeah.
So guys, and we're saying this not to discourage you from taking events. Look, take events. That's how you're going to get your experience and your exposure. What I'm trying to prevent, and I think along with Bill, is just to make sure that you have the thought in your mind of how to go about that, so that you're not always losing money running for every event just to be a part of something. There's a lot of things out there. And the only way to get the experience that you need is you got to get out there and you got to get your feet wet. And so, so that's why I'm sharing some of these things. It is in no way to discourage you from taking events, just trying to keep money in your pocket and not have you throwing away money at the end of the night that could be profit. And so that's great. So thank you, Bill. So let's go on to this chapter. On page 109, you talk about events, which is really important. Identifying those bottlenecks or those potential problems at events. We know now with labor and trying to find employees, it's hard. It's hard. Some people say, oh, well, me and my husband gonna do it today. We just gonna work our own truck and we're gonna take all his money. Yeah, but at the end of the night, half of that money is going either to prescriptions or x-rays, because now you done wore out your back, your feet, your shins hurt, you got blisters, and all those things that go along with that. So it sounds good that, oh, we'll work this, we'll do these events, but then you have some things that in your service and in your customer service that can really prevent you from meeting those markers. And so on page 109, if you guys have the book, you should have been able to already scan through identifying some of the potential bottlenecks of that. Bill, can you discuss briefly, like go through a few of those, just to discuss some of those bottlenecks, the things that we just don't think about until it's like, oh my God, we're getting slammed.
Yeah, we can actually go through those. Let me just get to page 109. This is the very first one there. We talked about a complex or a cluttered menu. Thin the menu down, because you got two issues. One, you can't store all that food. And then two, everything that's on the menu is something somebody has to read. And they got to explain to their kids that are standing there tugging on them going, Mommy, I'm hungry. Daddy, I'm hungry. I want to eat. What do they got? What do they got? So now mom and dad have to read every single thing that's on your menu. Make it easy on them. Thin your menu down. That way you have more room to store all the food that you're going to be selling. The slow order taking and cash transaction process. If your POS system is extremely complex or it's unfamiliar with handling lots of cash, that becomes a slow point. So you got to work your cashiers into being able to make change quickly, because a lot of folks come to events carrying lots of cash, because not all, especially fairs, are set up for ATMs. They want cash to play the games. It's $2 to play a game or $5 to play a game. Slow internet connection. If you are in an area where the internet is spotty, like one of the places that I vend at is, it sits right smack dab in the middle of an Air Force base and we get no signal. Other places in that event area can get a signal, but usually where they put the food vendors, we can't get a signal. So you got to be prepared. How are you going to handle the credit cards? Are you going to do Square? Are you going to do some other procedure to handle your credit cards? You got to be able to think on your feet. Another bottleneck is too many cashier interruptions. I love seeing suggested selling from a cashier, but it should only be one time per order. Or they're asking, will that be all, after every single thing the customer says? Customer says, like a hamburger. Will that be all? No, I'd like a French fry. Will that be all? Well, actually, I like a water too. No, will that be all? Every time you interrupt and create that conversation, you're slowing things down. Let the guest tell you what they want. And then I would reduce my suggested selling in an event situation just so I can hustle people along. I'm going to be super friendly like you guys are, because you guys are over the top friendly, but definitely I wouldn't be suggested selling, at every opportunity. They tell me I want a hamburger, no problem. And move on. Clumsy method of communication. And what I'm talking about there is going from the cashier to the cooks. One of the things, and I'm going to kind of call you out on this one, the food should go in one direction. Okay. I noticed that when Shelly was hanging up your tickets, if you were standing at the grill, she was putting the tickets on the right-hand side and you were looking at the tickets on the left-hand side, but the food was going to the right-hand side. So ideally, the ticket that's on the right-hand side should be the one you're working on. and then it just gets passed straight over. That communication has to be perfected in an event. Whatever method you're using, and of course, I'd rather see people use electronic methods with the kitchen display screens, but if you don't have that, whether it's a handwritten ticket or a paper ticket, you got to have that method of communication down perfectly. Because if you don't, it just creates another slowdown, and now your line gets longer and longer and longer, and people start to jump out of that line. And then next year, the promoter says, hey, I'll put 2 trucks in that spot. You have a limited cooking and storage capacity. A lot of folks don't realize that you can only cook so much food. No matter how fast you are, you can only cook so much food. I mean, in Double Trouble's case, the way that the meat is laid out, it takes up a lot of room on that grill. You couldn't cook a whole bunch of sandwiches at once just because of the way it's portioned. Somebody's cooking hamburgers. They can only cook, maybe 18 hamburgers at a time. That's what the Pearsons were telling me when I talked to them this weekend. They can only cook 18 at a time. So there's their limit. If somebody comes up and has a big family and they order 9 hamburgers for their family, that's half the grill gone and wrapped up in just cooking 9 burgers. So you got to be thinking about your cooking and storage capacity. Where the heck are you going to put all that food? And again, a complex menu and poor workflow. What this does, when you have a complex menu with bad workflow, the staff wears out quicker. And when they wear out, the back starts to hurt, the legs hurt, the back's hurting. They don't smile as much. They're not near as happy, and they go slower because they're hurting. So you've got to get your workflow worked out and be fast. And if you have slower, inexperienced kitchen people, especially, you can bring an inexperienced cashier because you can answer those questions quickly. You can't bring an inexperienced cook because now you just create a long line. And again, poor communication. And what I'm talking about there is getting the guests to get their food. You guys just started a pager system. But tell me how it went on Saturday, because I know that Thursday when I was there, we had a couple of people come up and the food wasn't ready. Did y'all experience that on Saturday too?
No. And so some of the frequencies, I guess, on those pagers changed. So they would come up because the pager would go off. One lady, I gave her a pager out the window and it beeped right away. She said, oh, I said, no, that's somebody. So I had to give her another pager. But no, Saturday, I don't think we have very few pager issues. So that made it great because those people aren't in your window, although we were constantly moving. Right. So no, that went off. Excellent. We were really grateful. Me and Lori talked about that at the end of the night. Said, those pages make all the world of difference. Because then you can talk to you. Other people are waiting, they're sitting, they're drinking, they're fine. They come up, they get their food, they move along. So we know what's going on, and I may have a full rack of tickets, but the people outside don't see that. And so one lady came up, she had her pager, she came up, her food wasn't ready yet. And I said, no problem. I said, your food will be up in 5 minutes. I said, but you know what? I said, there's one thing to wait 45 minutes. And she didn't wait 45 minutes. It was nowhere near that. But I was saying there's one thing to wait 45 minutes and get cold, unseasoned food. It's another thing to wait 45 minutes and have your food just right. She said, I'd rather wait. But of course, there's no 45-minute waits with Double Trouble anymore. But we were just talking about that. And so those pages made a difference. They really do.
Yeah, they do. How many did y'all have out at once on Saturday?
I think I looked up, maybe we may have had all but 4 out. Well, one is missing because a customer took one and never brought it back.
They wanted a souvenir.
Yeah, so he still got that one. So it would have been 5. So 16 minus 5.
So he had 11 out at one time.
Yes.
Yeah, how did he get his food? Melissa wants to know. How did he get his food then?
He sat there and talked to us at the window. He didn't. He was there the day before. He sat there and talked with us at the window. So we didn't have to ring his pager because he was right there. Left it on the counter or what have you. And I said, oh, he must have had my pager in his pocket because I never got it back. So, and I didn't get his number. I didn't get his phone number or anything. So I figured, he said he'll be back. So I figured maybe he'll bring it back when he comes. So yes.
All right. So that's just some of the bottlenecks. There's a whole bunch more. but that's why I recommend people get practice when they go out, to sit in front of Home Depot or on the side of the street, wherever. That's your practice. So you get really good at these events. So.
Yes. And so okay, good. So let's go over, we got about 5 minutes before we just open it up to questions and answers and all of that. There was one more thing in this chapter that I just want to make sure that people get aware of. So just let me give you this example. One of the things I told you guys in the beginning is on Saturday, you don't get a chance to walk up to our truck and look at the truck, look at the menu without being engaged. You just don't. Mm-hmm. And so I believe that was one of our saving graces. When people passed by the window, this is what I did. I looked out the window and I said, it was a group walking. Hey, if you're looking for something savory, something hearty, I got you. I said, if you want something light to dip while you sit, I got vegetarian egg rolls. And I just and so a couple of people walked by and they was like, well, I'm sold. I'm going to stop right here. Well, why am I saying that? I'm saying all that to say on page 119, Bill goes through some things too about getting your fair share, or just being able to offer some things or do some things different, do some things that make you stand out. We've had events where we've gone out and given little samples just to get people to the truck. If you have that staff and you have that freedom, maybe you'll run out and give a sample of something, or just using different things. We always dress alike. We always try to, now I got this big cheesesteak hat. And people love it. It's an attention getter. And the kids love it. They see me going by, this lady got a big old cheesesteak on her head. Things that you're going to do at these events that's going to draw people to you. And so on page 119, Bill goes over a few of those things. And I just want you to be thinking in your mind, if you're shy and if you're kind of timid, there are things you could do even in that. But to get you out of that comfort zone, to get you out of that shell, because at the end of the day, you're out there to make some money. You're out there to make this a good event, not only for your customers, but for you. You want to leave at the end of an event and go, wow, we did that. Or wow, that was so much fun. Not, whoa, I'm tired, I'm worn out, I'm mad, I'm pissed off, and I got an attitude. If you leave an event like that, that's not a good event. You don't want to leave an event like that. So he talks about using lights and flags and frames, and we do all of that. We got flags. Lloyd puts on her music and stands out on the side of the road. She hasn't done it lately. The music, and her eagles get up because people like a Philadelphia cheesesteak, and if they know you from Philly and they know you authentic from Philly, they're coming. Those are some of the things that don't get discouraged if somebody says, it's 3 other trucks here. Okay, that means you have to do something extra. That means you need to stand out. That means something that you have, something that you do, something that you say needs to bring people to you. It might not be the food that draws them. It may just be the fact that you said hello with a smile. One man walked down and looked at all the trucks and came back and said, you were the only one that spoke to me. He said, if you can't speak to me, you can't get my money. He didn't say it was the smell of the cheesesteak. He didn't say the food looked good. He said, you spoke to me, you get my money. And I'm not exaggerating. That's exactly what he said. So look at some of those on 119. Is this a good event? Any event that you're going to do and bring a profit and get some great experience is essentially going to be a really good event. There's events that's going to be better. There's some events that's going to be your best. But the ones you do, the ones you enjoy, the ones that you plan for and have a system for, those are going to be your best events. Go ahead, Bill.
Well, you just about covered everything. I've seen you guys do samples. You guys did the water ice to the kids. The first time I was there in January, it was ridiculously cold. You still gave those kids a little water ice, and it thrilled the parents. And I know they came back to eat with you guys. You guys are your own barker. And if you're not familiar with that term, a barker is the dude that's in a circus that's saying, step right up and see the fat lady or the bearded woman or whatever. You guys are doing that yourselves. You are hollering out people as they walk by, like you said. Hey, if you want something delicious, we got you covered. And you guys, and you guys will even point out, if you want a taco, you show them where the taco trucks are. You're just talking to people. You are selling them on eating, and hopefully they eat with you. So you guys are your own barker, and that's all it is just getting attention to your truck. You know, talk about wearing uniforms, send your employees out to the crowd, and then I'll have on the back of your uniform say, "Follow me to Delicious." Somebody's going to read that and go, well, let's just follow this person and see what they got. You know, they'll take it as a challenge. Is this food really delicious? And that's what you do when it's slow. Send somebody out. You talked about the lights and the flags and the A-frame signs and the blow-ups, anything that increases your footprint and gives you some height. Because when you're in an event where there's multiple food trucks and other things going on, you need attention. That's why you see the true concession trailers have lights and motion and all kind of stuff lit up on them. They're not the cargo trailer that somebody threw a grill on and said, hey, I'm a food truck. You know, they have the flip up marquees and they got height. So we can do the same things. You can cook and create smoke. That aroma brings people in, pulls them out of other people's lines where they go, oh, that smells good. Let me go find out where that's from. You guys want to stay clean and sanitary. If it's slow, post on social media. Hey guys, I am down here at Rose Hill Beer Garden. Y'all need to come on down. You don't sit there and whine about how slow it is. You take action, get people to come to where you are. Have employees, you know, bounce balls to each other, or pass frisbees, or blow bubbles. One of the things that the Pearsons shared with me last year is they give little dollar things of bubbles to the kids that they see in the line. So the kids have something to do while the parents are waiting to place an order. They have chalk for the kids to draw on the sidewalk. Same deal. It engages the children. When you engage children, as sad as it is to say, most kids have the decision-making process when it comes to dinner.
Yes.
Parents go, where do y'all want to eat? And the kids say, hey, I want. And if you're engaging the kids, you get the vote. Hey, I want to go to that place that sells the bubbles or has the bubbles. Yeah, they will pick you over McDonald's in a heartbeat if you make it, you know, kid friendly. And then the next thing is have kid friendly food options. You know, in the Philly cheesesteak, that water ice, perfect little option.
Yes.
And you talked about adding on a grilled cheese, I think, at one point.
Yeah, we do. So we do a kids meal grilled cheese, and it includes the water ice.
There you go.
Yeah. The man said a family of 5 on Saturday came to us. He said, man, I was just ripped off. And I said, what do you mean? He said, well, I was ripped off by one of the food trucks. And I'm thinking, out here tonight? He said, yes. He said, I just paid $42 for 2 kids' meals and an entree. He said, and it wasn't even good. So he came back to the truck. His kids wanted water ice. So he came to our truck. Needless to say, mind you, he'd already bought his meals and was unhappy at another truck. Came over there, was at the truck 3 times because his kids loved the food. He ended up getting I don't know if he got a grilled cheese, but they tore that water ice up, the whole family. And so you appeal to them. And he said, man, I love your energy. Because when you make kids happy, you make them happy.
Yep.
Period.
And he will come back and eat.
What you saying?
I said, he'll come back and eat with you for sure.
Yeah. Yes. And you see how low that water ice sign is? So that if the 2 and 3-year-olds are walking by, they all point to that sign and makes their parents come. It's almost like, you know, at Walmart going through the aisle where all the candy is, and they always want that last grab. And so just little things like that makes a big difference.
And that's a good point that Lauren brings up. If you guys can imagine the typical food truck with its serving window, there's always a shelf there. Yeah, Melissa can barely see over the shelf. Her head is at the shelf height. But what Lauren and Lori do is they place that advertisement for the water ice below that shelf. So most adults don't even notice it unless they're back in the line a ways. But the kids who will be right there can see those, and it is neon colors. It grabs your attention. Absolutely grabs your attention, but they have it down where the kids can see it. Melissa's giving me, I got 10 minutes, so I'm going to hurry. Yeah, she's wanting me to shut up, in other words. Put on a mini show. You know, if you see bartenders that have the little flair and they flip stuff and do all kind of neat things, you can do the same thing. One of the things that the Pearsons talked about is they don't necessarily put on a show, but they're always communicating back and forth. And that lets the the guests that are in line know that, hey, they're serious in there, they're working, they're getting the food out, so they don't mind, you know, a 5-minute or 10-minute wait, because they hear the sounds of people working. They're not back there on their phone and texting each other and giggling and laughing. They're serious. They're calling out what they need, how many fries they need down, how many smash burgers they need on the grill. They're talking food and getting the orders out. One idea that you could do is offer a premium priced but a refillable product. For an example, you could do the lemonade, you know, an $8 lemonade shake up, and then offer refills at, you know, $3, $4, whatever. So now you've got $12 coming out of that product instead of just the 8. You could do a refillable French fry, for instance. Anything that is low cost to you that people can see value in. And you can, again, charge a premium price because you have that option to refill it at a lower amount later on in the day. And then one last little tip I got is you could alter the names of your menu products that follow the theme of the event. You know, for me, when I did the Billy Bowl eggs, everything was pirate themed. And I was just lucky that my hot dog cart was also pirate themed, so that kind of fit in. But we named everything after nautical terms. When we did the Mullet Festival, we changed some of the names to be more fishing and seafood related. So just think about how you can be creative and be a part of the event, and that helps people to remember you.